Alright, let's have a look at articles. C, man, fly. I'll run through it, and where I can, we'll use our flowchart, because that's the thing that ultimately all of this is to practice using this thing, isn't it? Okay, so on December 17th, 1903, Orville and Woodwright successfully achieved sustained flight. Okay, it's sustained flight is general flight. They achieved flight, you know. So humans have wondered about flight, this general thing, for years. You know, finally they achieved it, so it's not unique. Here, it's not countable in this instance. Yeah. Now it's not like I caught a flight to Beirut. It's not, and there are 7 flights a day to Hong Kong. It's not. That's one kind of countable use of flight, isn't it? But this is the general abstract meaning of flight. So as I've mentioned, nouns in English sometimes can be countable and uncountable depending on their context. Here, it's this, and so we here. Nothing.
But if you were put
if you
would
put
it be a very serious mistake?
Extremely serious. No, it would be a mistake.
John,
but
is
a sustained flight.
Employ the uniqueness?
No. It's here. It's just they achieved this state, this thing. It's an uncountable with nothing. No article. In a power-driven aircraft. They did it in an aircraft. Yeah. A power-driven aircraft.
No?
Oh. Alright, so
You mean sustain here is an adjective. Sustain.
that is an adjective, yeah. And what we have to decide on is the word flight. Yeah, sustain. It doesn't. Yeah, that's uncountable here. So we're here. The answer is no. Oh, we've got nothing. If we said, I'll do a few more with flight. In 1956, the Russians achieved space flight, you know, with space flight and orbit with Sputnik. You know, space flight, and you hear that? You achieve flight, this state, like state. The first flight that day lasted only 12 seconds, over a distance of 37 metres. Now that one is a collocation, over a distance of. Yeah? He threw the javelin in the Olympic Games over a distance of 56 metres. Over a distance of. Just kind of mark that as a collocational fixed structure. Have you heard that? Have you heard? Well, that long. Yeah. Over a distance. A distance.
And in a power-driven aircraft?
A power-driven aircraft. The first flight that day lasted only 12 seconds, over a distance of 37 metres. Yeah, it's just always, it will always be that, you see, over a distance of. This is about the length of the space shuttle orbiter. So it's a particular space shuttle, the space shuttle, and there's a particular length. The length of, it's like if I said, oh, the length of this room. There's only one length, isn't there, of this particular room.
I mean, it's unique.
Unique, yes. Unique. Make sure you say unique, stress on the knee. If you say unique, you'll learn that word next term if you do Germaine Greer. Her famous book was called The Female Eunuch. And the eunuch is a de-sexed male.
Yes.
So, yeah. Different word. Unique. Unique. And it's an E sound, not ik. So, unique. The fourth flight of the day, it was that day. Yeah? Yeah, I guess it is, isn't it? Yes? That's right. And the longest flight, superlative, it's a special adjective.
Sorry, I lost John. Is
I
above,
am lost.
I am lost. Is above the length of the space?
Is about the length of the space shuttle orbiter. Yeah. The fourth flight of the day
Of the day?
and the longest flight travelled 260 metres in 59 seconds. Note that generally when we say, oh, it's 7 metres, it's 53 seconds, it's 3 days, know that. Yeah. The initial notification of the event, the event is sort of previous mention because we've been told about this event, right? So it's previous mention to the world, special noun, there's only one world, was a telegram to the Wrights' father. That's like, how you have your family, the Joneses, the Smiths, the Wrights, the Wrights' father. So the initial notification of the event, notice I say now the event because it's a vowel, isn't it? The event to the world was a telegram to the Wrights' father.
The telegram?
Yeah. Because it's being introduced to us for the first time. After that, it was mentioned it would be today. 66 years later, a human being first stepped on the lunar surface. Now that's not generic, it's a particular person. They're talking about Neil Armstrong, first guy on the moon. It's a single individual, it's not generic, the human being. Not a category of person who got out of the spacecraft and walked, is it? It's a single man. So a human being first stepped on the lunar surface. There's only one lunar surface, the moon's surface. An estimated 500 million people throughout the world, special noun, saw the event on television. Now, again, here's a bit of collocation. I think it's something people say all the time, I'm sure, in social conversation. Oh, I saw it on television. Did you see that on television last night? People don't say on the television. Right? So it's just a collocation. On television. However, you listen to it on the radio. Right? There's an inconsistency, isn't it? And it's just, that's the way we do it, guys. Right? There's one of these 5% of inconsistencies where the rules are not going to help you. You're just going to have to notice that stuff. Be sensitive to it.
On radio?
On the radio. As it happens. Are we ready for level 6? This was surely an historic event. Congratulations, Kelso. Right. IELTS level 12. Yeah.
Because it's supposed to event.
Look, it's just this word historic. For some reason, probably sometime in the 19th century, people, well actually the reason is that in the 19th century in England, there was there was an upper class British accent. It was very fashionable to drop your H's and you say historic. Right? And I'm looking for a hotel. And if you did that, you sounded very posh and someone who knew the Queen. And so people copied this, the ruling class spoke like this. And then of course if you do that, you've got to put an in front of it, don't you? So an hotel, an historic. That's what the top people in Oxford and Cambridge, that ruling class, would then write. And that kind of got fixed in the language, around those two words at least.
Can you tell
So it's like Rolls-Royce English is an historic. You will hear some journalists, ABC, BBC journalists, sometimes they'll say, this is surely an historic event. Others will say, a historic.
How many words like history are getting?
There are really only two that I know of. Historic and really only that one. Some really upper class British people say an hotel, but it's kind of, it's sort of, do you know what I mean by pretentious? They're pretending to be kind of...
You meaning whole English?
Yeah, doesn't it?
Hotel?
Yeah, and not really even hotel. And historic. Yeah, just remember that.
Even in exam, if you put a there, are you wrong?
Level 1. Yeah, you go straight to level 1.
But sometimes
It doesn't matter if all the rest of the piece is perfect. It's, you know,
But
just level
sometimes
1.
they trick, you tell us
No.
just a the and a. How can you
Most people will write a historical event. All right, most journalists will do it. I'm just telling you a little bit of interesting stuff. If you want, you know, Rolls-Royce English, and not just a dirty Rolls-Royce, but a polished one, you know, there you go. All right, next one. Today, space transportation. Nothing. Transportation, we're talking generally about space transportation. All right? So, we're not here, are we? We're not talking about a particular thought, we're talking about generally about space transportation. So, we're not here. Let's go to countable question. Can we have transportations? No. You can have forms of transportation or types of transportation. So our answer is no, so we're here. Nothing.
Yes, I call it.
There you go.
Zero in there.
Yeah, we were 0.
Yeah.
Now, it's working in many ways. And then, again, there's a qualification. It's working in many ways. I'm sure you've heard that. You don't hear a the in there, do
I'm
you?
going to do it the other way.
It's working in many ways for us all, and we've come to expect this. A whole new era. A whole new era. A whole. It's a whole new era of transportation came into being. There are many whole new eras of transportation. Right? Now, it's post-modified, isn't it? You've got of transportation. But let's think about this. When somebody invented the wheel, there was a whole new era of transportation. When somebody jumped on the horse for the first time, there was a whole new era of transportation. When somebody invented the motor car, there was a whole new era of transportation. So do you see, just saying of transportation, there are many such new eras. Just modifying it with that doesn't narrow it down to just one. If we said new era of transportation created by a space shuttle, right? But that's not happening here. I mean, you do say that in the sentence, but it's not part of the noun group. So it's a whole new era of transportation. Came into being in the 1980s, that's right. We've learned that all about decades, special noun. With the development of the space shuttle, a particular development of a particular thing, as a transportation system to Earth's orbit, not the. If you put the, that would mean that's the only form of transport to Earth's orbit, and it's not. There are lots of conventional rocket systems, aren't there? Other ways of getting into orbit. So it's not unique, it's as one of these transportation systems, it offers the workhorse capabilities of such earthbound carriers as trucks, ships and airlines.
Offers the?
Yeah. So it's the workhorse, it's got these massive capabilities like trucks, ships and airlines. That one's probably a bit, you could do without it. You could have nothing. You can't have though, because it's plural.
Yeah, I got nothing.
You could have nothing, but the preferred one would be the workhorse capabilities of these things. Now, airlines, nothing. Because you're talking generally about airlines, aren't you? You're not unique. Here we are, countable. Yes, it is. Is it singular? No, it's plural. Here we are, airlines, nothing in front of airlines.
So any balloon any balloon or name without an article, definite article, like, no.
No, you can have plurals with definite article, can't you?
Why we say no here?
Because we're not talking, let's have a look. We're talking generally about airlines. But if we said the airlines that are managed in Australia are generally not as good quality as the airlines managed in Asia.
Yeah.
Okay? The airlines managed in Australia. See, I've got the airlines, but I'm post-modifying it with the ones managed in Australia. So I'm using one of my 7 conditions here, aren't I? So you can have plural nouns.
So unit unique.
If they're modified to the point they're unique, you can have a the.
So I have to write before unique, account unique, account name, account table name, unique.
You have to write.
Account name, account table, like
Ah,
account table.
if it's
account-
countable, yes.
Unique count.
If it's a unique countable, that's
Unique
right.
countable.
Yeah.
Okay, this is
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Even if it's unique uncountable.
Yes.
Yeah. Anything that's unique. Let's do one. Space. Right, we'll come across it in a minute again. We know space, you use nothing, because it's generally uncountable. But here I'll make an uncountable unique. The space in this room is enough for 50 people. Okay, that space is uncountable, isn't it? But I'm making it, I'm modifying it.
I see.
Right, so any noun here, notice we're not asking ourselves countable or uncountable for the first question. Doesn't matter. Countable or uncountable, if it's unique, because of one of the 7 conditions, you can put a the. Yeah. Yeah.
Is that the reason they use the Malaysian airline? Like,
No, generally you say Malaysian Airlines. That's like the name of it.
can't we say
The Malaysian Airlines, no. No. You have a look at all their logos and everything, they say Malaysian Airlines.
Location.
Yeah, but also it's, you know, you'd say American Airlines or any adjective.
Just
Well,
Qantas airline.
Yeah, it's the name of the airline. And generally names like that, we don't do it. Yeah. Okay, it is as vital to, remember I said that thing about the Americans, writing to the Americans? It is as vital to the nation's future in space. The nation. They're writing about America. Let's put a nations. It is as, let's put and see if it logically works out. Now, who owns the space shuttle? Japan, China, Russia, America, don't they? The US. Okay, so it is as vital to a nation's future in space. That doesn't make sense. It's only vital to one nation. That's the US, isn't it? So we can tell, therefore, they're talking about themselves. We can tell that this is an American document. They're writing about their own nation. So
But
it
it
is
is already mentioned before.
not Pastor, I don't think it has been mentioned
Within the
before.
context, if we read the context of the,
Yeah, look, what is it? It's almost like shared knowledge, you know. The writer of this is presuming that you and I are American. So it's sort of like a shared knowledge. It is as vital to the nations, you and I know which nation we're talking about, because we're both Americans, you know. Of course everybody's going to read this as American. It suffers from cultural bias. The nation's future in space, nothing, which I'm sure you.
Why nothing?
Because space, that's stuff out there, or the absence of stuff, is always uncountable. Yeah, like I said, the space in this room, I've modified that, but the stuff between the planets and stars is just space.
So you mean it's not unique because we have a lot of spaces? Space and
Like a
space.
ground or something like that.
Yeah, but, okay, the stuff, if you like, between the dimensions, not stuff, is it? Between the planets and stars is an element in the universe. So it's like time. We say, you know, time defeats all people. You know, philosophical statement, time. Just this abstract universal element. No article. It's here, it's uncountable. Space is similar. It's just another dimension, isn't it, of universal dimension.
Accordingly to Einstein.
Indeed, that's it. That's right, we say the time-space continuum. Yeah, so there we go.
Future in space.
Yes, future in space. Last one, sorry. the more conventional carrier of today is to the countries, again like the nations, referring to themselves, referring to the US.
Referring to previous.
Yeah, you could treat it like a previous mention. It's like the nation, the countries, isn't it? Different word, but referring to the same thing. Yeah.
No, I have a question.
Yes.
About the previous paragraph, last sentence,
Yeah.
today, space transportation
Yes.
is working in many ways.
Yes.
Without with zero.
With zero. Yeah. It works in many ways. They're general ways. We're not talking about a unique bunch of ways. It's all sorts of different ways, fairly indefinite. Yeah, so there's nothing, it's not unique. Let's do it. It's not unique. Okay, the word ways. Is it countable? Yes, because it's plural, isn't it? Is it singular here? No. So we're here.
Excuse me, John. I have a question for television and radio.
Yeah.
Television, radio, computer, they are unique. Why we don't have any day added before the television?
They're not unique because here we go, 500 million people saw the event on television. 500 million people crowding around one unique television. I don't think they would have a very good view. Right? It's not unique here, is it? It's saying it's using television in a general sense. They saw it on television.
What about radio?
Same. They listened to it on radio. 500 million people either saw it on television or radio. We're not talking about single, unique radios here. We're speaking generally. So the answer here is no. Yeah. And countable, this is tricky because countable, yes they are. We can have televisions and radios, can't we? Yeah, so here. But are we talking about one radio? No, we're talking about 500 million, aren't we? Or 250 million radios and 250 million television.
Most of them doesn't get any day. Yeah.
Well, look, it goes here, but radio, it's just a collocation. We say you hear it on the radio.
Yes, you said
Yeah.
radio put, but
That's right. Now, it's just inconsistent. So, you know, this is where this breaks down. As I've said, there's a sort of 5%, I think it's probably less than 5% of the time. You have things outside the rules. And you're just going to have to learn them because they're just collocations. It's what we call, I've mentioned it before, usage. Just what natives do in a language. And what natives do in a language, you know, probably 5% of the time, break the rules. We're humans after all, we love breaking the rules. We would be happy if we didn't break the rules 5% of the time. So,
there's a statement that some say that rules are made to be broken.
that's it.
Yeah. That's true.
So if you believe that, you can go home now. Yeah, because we won't worry about any more grammar rules from now on.
Don't kick us out, please.
All right, well, that's a bit more
you got
practice.
6.
How did you go this time? Are we getting 70-ish%? Yeah, getting better, good.
But except sometimes it gives us some tricky.
There are some little tricky ones in this one, sure. Yeah, but what I'm trying to stress, don't, you know, those like the television and radio thing, it's outside this, isn't it? So, but this covers, you know, roughly 90% of use. So if you get that working well, sure you'll have this 5% that you're going to have to work on over time, but it'll help, I think, clear things up. Okay, we could do another one. The EDSU. Why don't we do the EDSU? The last page of the EDSU. Not sure if the last page.
The next one.
Okay.
It has one more than and
Oh, it does, it goes over the page. Yeah, the EDSU. Okay, here we won't do it now, but I'll just read it through. So it's D, the EDSU, a modern anti-success story. It's about a car model that failed. Not since Ford's introduction of Model A 30 years earlier had so much attention accompanied arrival of new car.
Wait.
Just under the one we've just done. D.
D?
Yeah. Second line.
Yes.
When the same company formally introduced Edsel in September 1957, it had already invested $250 million in development, production and distribution, which, according to one account of the day, made Edsel costliest consumer product in history. Ford counted on selling at least 2 million Edsels first year. Now, a little clue, remember brand names, generics, aren't they? Yeah, so names of cars and things, particular brands, so this will come up quite a lot in this one. However, a little over 2 years and 2 months later, Ford had sold only 100,000 Edsels, and automaker permanently discontinued production. Total loss to company reached $350 million, according to some estimates. Loss was equivalent to that which would be incurred. See, there's a collocation. You incur a loss. So it means you suffer a loss. If Ford were simply to give away 110,000 models of its comparably priced car, Mercury. Conventional wisdom has held, that's like common belief, popular belief, conventional wisdom, has held that rapid decline of the Edsel was due to companies' dependence on results of public opinion polls and motivational research. According to View, results dictated the way the Edsel was promoted, the way it was named, and also the way a car was designed. It is further argued that such efforts will always fail, for when car-buying public perceives itself pursued in overly calculated manner, it will always turn away in favour of a more spontaneously attentive competitor. So what they're saying there is, there was a lot of market research done around this car, but it didn't really work because the public felt it was kind of artificial. When conceived, here it means conceived, thought of, in late 1940s, idea that eventually led to the Edsel was one of putting on market a new and completely different medium-priced car. It would be designed to keep prosperous owners of Fords intent on trading in their symbols of low income earnings in Ford family. Turn over the page, that page. Got it? Edsel design was certainly different. Got it? Turn over that page that we were on. Edsel design was certainly different. A novel radiator grille in shape of horse collar was set vertically in centre of conventionally low wide front end. Unique rear end was marked by widespread horizontal wings. Another feature within driving compartment, so this is describing a car, and one thing you've got to think about here is how many parts of a car are there, like driving compartment, how many parts in a car? 1, 2, 3. Was a group of automatic transmission push buttons on the centre of steering wheel. Like, how many steering wheels are there in a car? There's a clue. Push buttons control what was then the most powerful engine, 345 horsepower, for automobile at the time of its introduction. The Edsel's failure has been attributed to, like blamed on, rather long delay between conception, when it was thought of, and market introduction. Forced by Korean War in 1950 to postpone the car's development, Ford came out with the Edsel precisely at a time the car-buying public was moving decisively towards smaller, less powerful compacts. So it seems like the public were heading towards buying smaller cars. Moreover, within 2 years, the stock market would nosedive. Think of Shanghai on Monday. Nosedive. Like a diver going down with their nose first. Marking the beginning of recession, as automobile history would end its season with second largest number of unsold cars in history. Yeah, so it's a longer one, but I think overall, sort of more regular actually. I think you'll get good practice with this flow chart develop.
Speaking about the forward topic about the based on the article, I'm not sure why the price, for example, the price in America is different than here. For example, whether you're going to get the same car, it's double the amount, or whether it's like cheaper price.
Yeah. Well, I guess